Hello everyone, so in today's video I will be sharing the top 10 attractions that you should consider visiting if you are planning a trip to the beautiful cities of Ronda and Sevilla, which are situated in the stunning Andalusian regions of Spain. And if you have never considered traveling to these regions, my hope is that by the end of this video, you will be inspired enough to create your own lasting memories in these often overlooked destinations that, quite frankly, offer so much from a cultural standpoint. During this video, you will catch glimpses of beautiful natural sceneries, as well as stunning landmarks that were literally designed and built centuries ago, but that have withstood the test of time. Throughout this video, I will also provide some great food recommendations for restaurants that I have visited during my excursion, and also include a hotel review just in case you are also looking for good lodging suggestions. To ensure that you will have a smooth traveling experience moving through the region, I will be providing some tips and tricks for navigating your way around this truly scenic area that has every ability to impress. So, with that being said, let's move ahead with my top 10 list of things to do when venturing out to the beautiful cities of Ronda and Sevilla, Spain. One of the most visited regions in southern Spain is the city of Ronda on account of its elevated landscapes, but before we get into all of that good stuff, let's first get you properly positioned to navigate your way to the region. One of the easiest ways to get to and move around Ronda is through the use of a guided tour company that also offers transportation as part of their services. There are multiple companies that offer these tour guide services, starting out in the city of Malaga, and as such I will leave a web link down below so you can inquire more about these packaged options that also enhances the experience with knowledgeable historians. However, if you prefer to visit the region as an independent and go at your own customized flow, not to worry, here are a few alternatives for you to explore the region in a more intimate way. The most economical method of transportation to get to Ronda from Malaga City is to purchase bus tickets for coaches leaving from the Maria Zambrano train station, which is a major transportation hub in the region. This is actually the transportation method that I personally used a few years back when I had visited Ronda on a previous trip. Most southern Spain visitors will start their travels in Malaga, which has an international airport and countless tourist attractions, which is why we chose Malaga as our base as we explore the surrounding cities. Upon doing some research, I found that there are several bus companies that still make the 2-hour journey to Ronda, with one of the major players being Avanza. I will also leave additional web links to this particular bus company for your personal reference. However, it's to be noted that I did have some issues while attempting to buy their bus tickets online. So perhaps buying the passes in person will be the easier way to go about making the acquisition. Now, out of just pure convenience, we personally opted for renting a small SUV the night before our trip to Ronda. Record Go is one of several car rental companies that can offer car rental services at the Malaga airport. So if you are arriving to Malaga City by plane, you can conveniently rent a car to make your way to Ronda and even the surrounding region. Now, here is the part that really surprised me upon securing the car rental. I recently went on the Record Go webpage and I was able to find a 7-day car rental priced as low as 80 euros, which is night and day compared to pricing I am used to seeing in North America. So not only do you get the freedom to roam around southern Spain within the confines of your personal vehicle, you get to do it at an extremely affordable rental rate. Keep in mind though that a lot of the cheaper car options have manual transmissions, which tends to be the norm in Europe. So you will need to pay just a little bit more to have an automatic transmission car, which tends to be more of a luxury feature. For more information, I will just leave web links down below in the description section of this video so you can get further pricing details for car rental services should you decide to utilize this method of transportation. Now, whether you choose to travel by bus or a private vehicle, you will undoubtedly be mesmerized by the views you will encounter along the way. The route towards Ronda from Malaga City takes you through winding roads that eventually leads you through the tall mountains that Spain is so commonly known for. And because we had an extra early start to the morning, we got to see the sun slowly take position in the sky and cast an orange hue on the rocky terrain. On a cloudy day, you will equally take notice of how sections of fluffy clouds seem to almost graze the mountaintops while also casting silhouettes that can be seen from afar off in the distance. While I personally enjoy driving on road trips, it's in these types of moments that I am thankful to be a passenger so that I can really take in and appreciate all of the natural beauty. So it's definitely a good idea to have your camera handy for this leg of the journey. An hour and a half into the trip, we arrived to the city of Ronda, and I noticed that there were a lot of surrounding rural areas, but once you got into the downtown sector, the city looked very modern up until you arrived to Ronda's old town, where there were classical type Spanish buildings that featured both Moorish and Christian architectural designs, which naturally provides the region with its own unique charm. Because it was still early morning, the restaurants were still relatively empty, so we decided to begin the tour with a visit to a local cafe by the name of Tejeringos Coffee that is known for its churros, which is a fried dough that is commonly served as a dessert throughout Spain. Depending on the region, this Spanish dessert is also known as tejeringos, and thus the name of the cafe. To start things off, I ordered a té leche, which translates into tea and milk, as well as freshly toasted bread that was accompanied by crushed tomatoes and drizzles of olive oil that were sourced locally. Despite it having a relatively basic list of ingredients, the flavors were amplified due to how fresh the ingredients were. Not only this, just adjacent to our table was a churreria with an open window to observe the churros being made right in front of you. Oftentimes, churros are served dipped in sugar, but for some, they prefer to have the churro dipped in chocolate. In either case, you can still expect to have a great tasting experience with this Spanish pastry. Now, when visiting the city of Ronda, it's considered an absolute must to catch a gaze of the famous Puente Nuevo, which is translated as the New Bridge. It is likely that you have seen pictures of this architectural marvel on postcards, and it's for a very good reason. Built in 1793, this 98-meter high stone structure was the second bridge built to connect the two sectors of the city. The structure towers over the stunning El Tajo Gorge that channels the Guadalquivir River that cuts through the city of Ronda. The bridge was designed with 3 arches, with the middle arch being used as a holding cell during Spain's Civil War of 1936 to 1939. For a small fee, you are even able to access the middle chamber that is now utilized as a museum. Now, my next recommendation on this list will allow you to get a little more intimate with the Puente Nuevo by descending between the tall canyon walls that were carved out over many years by the running water of the Guadalquivir River. You start the activity by walking through a winding paved pathway situated just by the Plaza de María Auxiliadora that eventually leads you to the Desfiladero del Tajo checkpoint that features an observation platform that provides you with a direct view of the triple arch bridge etched in between 100-meter tall limestone structures. At this point, you will have the opportunity to witness a picture-perfect moment and to take in scenery that has been viewed by many generations, and that up until this very day still continues to inspire. You can't help but to admire nature's handiwork that has over many years painted this stunning imagery. To get even closer to the Puente Nuevo, you can purchase tickets that grant you access to a walkway that spans along the Tajo Gorge walls. Here, you are provided with hard hats prior to taking the walk. From this lower perspective, you can have a greater appreciation for the sheer size of the bridge that took 34 years of hard labor to construct. You also get a closer look at a relatively small waterfall that flows from under the bridge. It's these visual moments that personally inspired me to explore stunning landscapes such as these. As a side note, if you are considering making the trip into the Del Tajo Gorge, do consider wearing proper footwear as the path downhill, although paved, can be somewhat challenging. Be sure to also bring water to keep yourself hydrated, particularly during the peak summer season. Now, there is so much more to Ronda than just its world-renowned bridge. While visiting the city, you can also take a stroll through a luscious green park called Alameda del Tajo, where there are local musicians and vendors that help to set the calming tone to the sector. And if you continue through its main corridor, you will eventually find yourself facing an open valley that seems to spread as far as the eyes can see. There's even a dedicated balcony overlooking this amazing scenery, and it's for this reason it was dubbed the Balcón del Coño, which is a Spanish derogatory term used by most people when they are taken back by the stunning panoramic views and its immense depth. Gazing down into the valley, you can make out tiny plots of farmland and farmhouses scattered throughout the vast region. While there, the peace and tranquility offered by the valley had such a calming allure, and I can see why the region is considered a crown jewel of the Andalusian sector of southern Spain. Now, if you have been following this itinerary thus far, there is a good chance that you've built up a strong appetite for some good, authentic Spanish food. While there are many tapas bars situated throughout Ronda, we specifically opted for one called La Taberna. There was a long lineup of people waiting to be seated, so this was somewhat of an indicator that we were about to have an enjoyable culinary experience. The tapas bar had very traditional Spanish decor that contributed to the overall Spanish eating theme. Here, you can also order Spanish beers as well as highly acclaimed Spanish wines to accompany your meal. One of the plates that I genuinely enjoyed was the order of oxtails that were cooked to tender perfection. Oxtails in general tends to be a tougher meat to tenderize, so it's clear that the meat has been under a simmer for many hours, which also explains the flavors that were pulled into the hot gravy it was coated in. The city of Ronda is actually renowned for its oxtail dishes, so it's something that I would rank highly for must-try dishes while in the vicinity. While there, I also tried their mini ox burger, which was juicy and packed with rich flavors. Should you choose to visit La Taberna, I would also recommend trying the flamenquin, which is a deep-fried pork and cheese-filled roll that is also notorious within the Spanish culture. I would also suggest trying their delicious sopa castellana, provided that it's not too hot of a day to enjoy a small soup. Their menu also consists of great-tasting salads as well as flavorful fish plates. Overall, La Taberna's menu served as a portal to authentic, great-tasting Spanish cuisine. And based on this, it should be added to your list of places to visit while in the city of Ronda. This next location is probably one that would most commonly be associated with the Spanish culture in general. And if you have never been to a bullfighting ring, what better place to do so than at one of the oldest bullfighting rings in all of Spain? The Plaza de Toros de Ronda is a well-preserved bullfighting ring that was built all the way back in 1785. This more than 200-year-old structure had beautiful architecture and provides a genuine feel of what it would have been like to be both a spectator of the performances held back in the day, as well as the performers themselves as they grant access to the very center of the bullfighting ring. From here you can witness the 136 columns and 68 arches that form the vast circular structure. The ring had a diameter of 66 meters, which is the equivalent to 216 feet. Standing in the middle of the arena, you can experience the venue from the perspective of a bullfighter, which is something pretty cool to see.
I like the way they kept the rustic original look. Like, I've only seen bull rings on TV, bullfighting rings on TV, but to see it here, it looks very similar to what I've seen on television, so they've done a good job of preserving the historical look of it.
As part of the tour, you also get the opportunity to see the stables in which the performing bulls were held. And to protect workers from bull attacks, a pulley system was developed to securely release the bulls into the arena without too much human intervention. On site, there is also a dedicated indoor space where aspiring students can take on the challenge of horseback riding. All in all, the tour of the arena was like walking back through time, and the preservation work was executed flawlessly. And based on this, I would add the Plaza de Toro de Ronda on your travel list should you decide to visit the beautiful city of Ronda. For admission prices and general inquiries, I will leave a link to their website in the description section down below this video. Before leaving Ronda, you will definitely want to pass by the Carrera Espinel to grab a souvenir to commemorate your visit to the famous city of Ronda. This kilometer-long street features bakeries, tapas bars, clothing boutiques, as well as souvenir shops. So, if you're in the mood to do a little bit of window shopping, this would be the ideal strip to do so in the city. It's also a great way to get a gist of how the locals in the area live on a day-to-day basis. Before long, we had spent a full day in Ronda, and it was time to hit the winding roads to make our way back to Malaga City to prepare for the next day's road trip up north to the beautiful city of Sevilla, Spain. Naturally, seeing as we had rented a vehicle, it was logical for us to make another road trip through the Scenic region. But in cases where you will be relying more on public means of transportation, you can easily book a bus or even train ride up to Sevilla, which is one of the convenient parts about being stationed in Malaga City, where the Maria Zambrano train and adjacent bus terminals are positioned. In an earlier video, we had taken the train from Malaga City up to the city of Córdoba, and I can confirm that the train riding experience was extremely comfortable and somewhat entertaining on account of the beautiful mountains we encountered along the way. So, if ever you do have the option to travel by train, I would absolutely jump on the opportunity, especially when you consider how inexpensive the train rides are. By car, the trip to Sevilla from Malaga City would take roughly 2 hours to make, so we hit the road bright and early for the sake of maximizing our day. Now, one of the great things about opting for a road trip to Sevilla is that there are some interesting routes that will provide you with an opportunity to see some pretty interesting landmarks. One of the routes from Malaga requires you to drive west along the Mediterranean Sea before making your way up north towards Sevilla. Along this westwardly section of this trip, you will have the opportunity to drive past the southernmost point of continental Europe, which, believe it or not, places you just 31 kilometers from the northern coast of Africa. On a relatively clear day, you can actually see the northern coast of Africa. In fact, you can even take a 45-minute ferry ride across the Gibraltar Strait to make your way over to Tangier, Morocco. Although I have personally never set foot on continental Africa, it's certainly nice to be able to say that I have at least come so close and have set eyes on the continent, albeit from a distance. Now, before we continue on this trip, we're actually going to stop to pick up a bit of gasoline. And just for your reference, the gas today is selling at €1.60 per liter. So something to keep in mind cost-wise if you do plan on going for the car rental option. As we continue to make our way north, I was truly amazed by the stunning scenery we were surrounded with. Much like Ronda, there were many tall mountains that seemed to be grazed by the low-lying set of fluffy clouds that slowly and delicately flowed through the skies. In between these mountains were wide valleys that seemed to stretch for an eternity. The region was the very embodiment of what it means to be utterly free. So, as we're approaching Sevilla, one of the first things that I'm noticing in terms of the terrain is that it's a lot more flat compared to Malaga. Within Malaga, you have the Mediterranean Sea that's more towards the south. And then on the opposite side, it's a ton of mountains. So the scenery is very stunning. Here, it's a lot more flat and it looks more like city-like. I don't know how to compare it, but it's not as rural looking as some parts of Malaga is. But once we get into the more central parts of Sevilla, I'll show you guys a few more video clips so that you can compare and contrast and decide which city appeals more to you. Before long, we arrived to the city of Sevilla, where we would first and foremost go to complete our check-in at Hotel Fernando III, which is a phenomenal option for lodging in the region. The hotel was intentional on having a rustic, luxurious look while having every amenity possible. The staff was also extremely accommodating and helpful with the check-in process, and also provided some tips and tricks for getting around to see the numerous attractions in the region. They also offered valet service for parking, which came in really handy as the surrounding roadways that led to the hotel were extremely narrow, which is something to keep in mind when traveling to the older parts of the city. You may be happy to know that there are various ride-sharing platforms in the region that allow you to make use of their network of bicycles, electric scooters, as well as mopeds. Looks like here that there's also a network so that you can rent scooters as well. This seems to be the name of the company. I did notice that there were quite a few of these bikes that kind of looked identical, so I figured they must have been part of a ride-sharing system. So if you've never been on a scooter, this might be an opportunity for you to try it out. I've never used one of these before, so I'm a little bit scared to try it personally, but if you do have some experience, then this might be an even better way to get around, because I did mention the roads here are very, very narrow, and moving around with one of these scooters might be a lot easier for you. So what I'll do is I'll leave a link to this particular website so that you can check out pricing to see the process of how you can get your rental of your scooter. And towards the end of this video, I will also provide my full review of Hotel Fernando III as a potential lodging option for your visit to the city of Sevilla. But for the time being, let's dive into the first recommended activity to consider while visiting the city of Sevilla. It may surprise you to know that the largest Gothic cathedral in the world just so happens to be one of Sevilla's architectural marvels. The Sevilla Cathedral is a tall structure that can be seen from out in the distance, but it's from up close that you can really notice and appreciate the complex shapes and designs that went into making the structure unique. In fact, parts of its design originates from the prior mosque that was constructed on site in 1198. However, from this mosque, the only remaining structure is its 340-foot tall Giralda Tower, which is now affixed to the present-day cathedral. This type of tower is commonly known as a minaret, which is generally a tall platform used to project the Muslim call to prayer. This portion of the former mosque was preserved till this very day, and they have opened the tower to the general public to have elevated panoramic views around the city. However, before exploring the Giralda Tower, I would recommend taking a tour of the base structure. The interior design of the cathedral is one that may impress you, especially if you have a personal interest in elaborate architectural designs. Throughout the cathedral, there were tall, chiseled columns that guide your eyes up to a series of high-ceiling arches. Here, you will notice beautiful carvings and patterns that coalesce into what seems like pieces of art. Spread throughout the cathedral are tall organs, paintings, as well as other pieces of artwork. But the exhibit that really caught my attention, and that is likely to pique yours, is the very tomb of Christopher Columbus, who was known for being a prominent explorer of the Western world. While only reading about this figure in history books, it was somewhat strange to be face to face with his actual tomb. Judging by the number of spectators, it's safe to say that they were just as intrigued as I was in that moment. The tomb was no different from the very structure of the cathedral. The statues placed above were put together with such fine details. You can only admire the amount of time and skill that went into creating these pieces of art. Clearly, the structure was beautiful to witness from both an interior and external perspective, but it was now time to begin our climb to the top of the Giralda Tower. Now, this tower was not your typical high-rise structure that had a dedicated elevator or even staircase. To allow for the relatively quick scaling of the tower, it was engineered to accommodate the use of horses to scale the structure on a regular basis. and it's for this very reason that ramps were used in lieu of stairs. So we began to take in the gradually elevated views as we made our way up the 35-floor structure. And because the system of ramps were positioned along the tower walls, we could see the city from varying angles as it spiraled upward. Due to the amount of foot traffic within the corridors, it took about 15 minutes to arrive to the top of the tower, where we were greeted with an overhead view of the city of Sevilla. The scenery alone made the trip up the tower very worthwhile. The top of the tower also housed 24 church bells, which can be heard for miles around, and if you're lucky, you'll hear them sound and set the ambiance while you gaze down into the beautiful city of Sevilla. In 1929, Spain wanted to build relations with other world leaders, and one common way to get this done is to hold an exposition to welcome foreign parties. This objective led to the construction of the Plaza De España in Sevilla, Spain, which is a very famous structure that you have likely seen in pictures at some point. Although the exposition it welcomed concluded almost 100 years ago, millions of visitors have made it a point to visit the Plaza De España on account of its sheer beauty. On site, you will find a large semicircular building that spans around a 50,000 square meter plaza that is decorated with colorful mosaics and Moorish-style designs. The plaza also features a 500-meter long canal where visitors can peacefully row in small boats that can be rented for as cheap as €6. Because we arrived at the location around sunset, we quickly got to see the area transform to a nighttime setting that combined tall sprouting waterfalls and bright colored lights. The sky was also turning into a midnight blue, and the crescent moon became more prominent in the night sky that made for a somewhat romantic ambiance. The Plaza de España receives millions of visitors on an annual basis and is considered one of the must-visit landmarks in the region, and it's captivating sceneries like this that make such journeys so worthwhile. This next location is definitely catered towards food lovers, but also for someone looking to experience a very unique setting. Voltereta has branches of visually stunning restaurants all throughout Spain. Each restaurant is uniquely designed after a particular theme inspired by famous cities around the world, and Sevilla was chosen to host its Parisian variant. The exterior of the location is very unassuming, but once you enter, you quickly realize that you are about to embark on a very special journey. Entering the restaurant required you to walk through a mirrored room that consisted of bright colored balls that gave an illusion that they were floating in mid-air. It kind of felt like we were living out a scene conceived in a chapter from Alice in Wonderland. It was a very mesmerizing experience to say the very least. Once we passed this checkpoint, we were greeted with decor that featured elements that would lead you to believe that you are stepping into an outdoor courtyard or even a street front in Paris, France. Every section of the restaurant was designed with a particular theme in mind, such as a bakery, cafe, or even a jewelry shop. The attention to detail genuinely made it feel like we had stepped outdoors despite being in a building that seemed so well hidden away from the rest of the city. Despite the French theme throughout, the menu itself was very diversified. To start things off, we ordered an entree of oxtail croquetas, which were deep fried to deliver a crispy exterior as well as a creamy oxtail flavored interior. While croquetas are common dishes found in Spain, this one seemed a little more like a delicacy. This appetizer was then followed by their Iberian secret bao, which is made from a marbled cut of pork from the Iberian pig that is native to both Spain and Portugal. This breed of pig is known for its acorn-rich diet as well as its free roam lifestyle, which delivers its unique taste. The next plate we tried was the Japanese vegetable tempura that was drizzled with a spicy kimchi mayonnaise. In this dish, I couldn't tell if the broccoli was baked or deep fried, but it had a great crispy texture that was accompanied by the flavorful and spicy mayo. This was a very interesting twist to eating vegetables, and believe it or not, it was actually one of the highlight meals of the evening. For the main course, we ordered an amazing rigatoni pasta plate that was decorated with a homemade cashew-based pesto sauce, French burrata cheese, and cherry tomatoes. Toasted pistachios were also used to flavor and garnish the plate. The dish not only looked appetizing, but tasted just as appealing. The second main dish was a flavorful Japanese chicken katsu with steamed rice. All of the flavors and textures came together to make a very satisfying plate. From the seasoned crispy chicken to the warm curry sauce, the meal delivered on all fronts. Despite reaching our capacity for food consumption, we couldn't leave the restaurant without trying one of their desserts. While there was a long list of items to choose from, we opted for a slice of their cheesecake, and I can confirm that it ranks pretty high on my personal list of cheesecakes that I have tried over the years. Now, if you were keeping count, you will have already concluded that the entire meal, including non-alcoholic beverages, amounted to just €49.50, which is roughly $80 Canadian or $58 US, which is extremely inexpensive for the quantity and quality of food that was served. This, to me, is considered very affordable, especially when you consider the amount of thought and creativity that went into delivering a unique eating experience. Based on this alone, I would highly recommend adding this restaurant to your list of places to visit while in the city of Sevilla. Interestingly enough, the designer of the restaurant went the extra mile to ensure that the bathroom experience would be a topic of discussion following your visit. The washroom facilities were modeled after the Paris metro system, as well as some type of marshland. Even their dedicated exit had a retro-themed household kitchen. Every point of contact in the restaurant gave you something to process and think about, which speaks volumes about the attention to details paid by its designer. And just like that, we walked out into the open streets and witnessed a long lineup of visitors waiting to have the very same experience. So the plan for this morning is just to head out. We're probably going to go take a look at one of the markets that they have here that's close by. And then we'll probably also go to a certain area where they have giant mushrooms. I've only seen some pictures of it. Looks kind of cool, so we'll check it out and see what that's like. This morning it's a little bit cool. Right now we're sitting at 5 degrees. We're expected to have a high of 16 degrees. So should be a fairly nice day today. Alright, so before we get any deeper into this video, I do want to mention the fact that Level 8 did reach out to me so that they could send me a set of their luggage so that I can use it for this trip and give you guys my opinion as to whether or not I feel this is something that would be worthwhile for you in the case that you're doing some traveling in the near future. In this particular case, I have the 20-inch traveling luggage as well as some packing cubes. And I've been using it for the past week, and I can say that they facilitated my movement throughout the southern parts of Spain. And I'm going to go over some of the details of this luggage and why I have enjoyed using it and why it might be a good fit for you in the case that you do decide to do some traveling of your own. Also, I want to mention as well that this video is not sponsored by Level 8. They have not paid me to say anything about this luggage set. So anything that I do say is coming from pure experience, and it's my own personal and honest opinion. So I combined the 20-inch Level 8 luminous textured luggage set with their fitted and padded packing cubes. And I can say that they have been a game changer in allowing me to keep a close tab on all of my valuable belongings. The packing cubes come in a series of sizes to accommodate items like clothing, electronics, and even toiletries. And what's a really simple but creative feature is that each packing cube comes with interchangeable pictographed patches that allow you to quickly identify where each category of items are stored for easy and quick access. This is especially useful for the odd customs inspection at the airport or even border crossings. As someone who also moves a lot of camera equipment, this has made each packing experience a breeze. Level 8's luggage collection comes in a series of styles and colors, but are also very functional. For one, they include ultra-quiet 360-degree spinner wheels that can easily keep up with your pace of movement. The luggage set also includes a TSA-approved lock that can safely be opened by customs during inspections. The diamond textured shell not only looks good, but incorporates an anti-scratch technology that will keep your luggage looking stylish for longer. When you consider the amount of features you get for what is paid, you're getting a really good value. For web links and even discounts, I will leave additional information down below in the description section of this video. This next location features a building structure unlike anything I have previously seen, unless you compare it to a giant mushroom. The Setas De Sevilla is a giant wooden structure that is central in the city of Sevilla. It is considered to be the largest wooden structure in the world by volume, and when you see it in person, it's not hard to believe that it has received this title. The structure is composed of more than 3,000 pieces of wood and measures 150 meters long by 70 meters wide, with the height standing at 29 meters high. Below the mushroom is an open platform where events are held throughout the year, such as the ongoing Tres Reyes celebration. There are 2 concrete columns at the base of the structure that elevates you to the lookout area atop the building. From here, you can enjoy a panoramic view of the city of Sevilla. Something that I learned following the visit of the giant mushroom is that the scenery tends to be even more impressive at night, with the collection of spotlights used to light up the structure. So, if at all possible, I would schedule your visit during the later hours of the evening to maximize the viewing experience. Do keep in mind that there is a fee charged for entering the rooftop platform, but for more details on this, please consult the ticket web links in the description section of this video down below. Walking here early in the morning, everything is just so quiet. Not everyone is up yet, so things aren't as busy in terms of the traffic that's on the street. So if you do wake up early in the morning, maybe use that as an opportunity to go around the area and to get a more intimate interaction with the city. To get a better idea of what the day-to-day life is like in the city, we ventured out to browse around one of their local fresh food markets. This one in particular was called Mercado De Feria, and while touring around, the vendors were just beginning to set up shop for the day, so the crowds for the time of morning was at a bare minimum. What surprised me was the number of kiosks that were on site selling a large variety of fresh produce. They had everything from fruits, vegetables, meat and dairy products, as well as fresh seafood. If you are staying in the city for extended periods of time, it would be just as interesting to supplement dining out with experimenting with refreshing locally grown food products. You will certainly notice the difference in comparison to the produce found in North America from both a quality and pricing perspective. I'm super surprised at how inexpensive food products here. We just walked into a corner store, and right here I'm seeing, for example, a bottle of wine for €1.09. Water is 28 cents or 92 cents for a bottle of water. What is this? This is, I think it's mineral water. Looks like it's at least 1 liter there. So, if you're looking for an authentic outing from a local's perspective, this is definitely something to consider experiencing when visiting the city of Sevilla. Now, as previously mentioned, before concluding this video, I would be providing my feedback on what my personal experience was while staying at Hotel Fernando III, which is a 4-star hotel that is conveniently situated near the touristic regions of Sevilla. And if you plan on visiting the city, I figured you would want at least one lodging recommendation. Following our visit, I can say with a certain level of confidence that you will take a liking to Hotel Fernando III. For starters, the hotel had a 4.5-star rating on Google, and this is for a very good reason. Beyond the excellent service provided by their professional staff, the hotel also had a lot of great amenities. The foyer area was spacious and had a ton of seating areas to accommodate their guests. Not only this, the decor had a very classy and upscale look that made you feel like you were staying in a space a lot more expensive than what it actually costs. And although we had taken one of their more affordable suites, it was still spacious, very modern, and had a comfortable and homey feel. I'm quite actually pleased with how everything is. It looks like it was recently renovated. Everything looks modern and very, very clean. So let me just start off with actually maybe the washrooms first. So here's your typical washroom. Warm water. You have your bidet because we're in Europe. A nice tall seated toilet. And here you have some nice plush towels for your hands. And what's nice about this is that they've even embroidered their logo right here, which is a nice attention to detail. And then in addition to that, you also have a bunch of different items, which is pretty typical for a lot of hotels. You'll get like shampoos and shower gels and shower caps, and all of that is included inside of this pouch. You do also have a hair dryer that's right here that you can use. And this is a stand-up shower that they also have here. Looks pretty modern, clean. You have your hot and cold controls here. And then you have a nice little handle over here so you can have a little bit more flexibility with the flow of water. So that's also nice. Some more towels here as well that have their branding on top of it. Again, nice attention to detail. And then as we make our way into the room, you'll see there's also some climate controls here as well. We're in the month of December, which is the winter here, so the nights are a little bit colder, but during the day is a little bit warm, so it's nice that you have the flexibility to have some control over the temperature. And here you have your standard controls for all of the lighting that's in here. So here we opted for the twin double beds here. So far they seem pretty comfortable. And then again, here you have the pillowcases with, again, their branding. Hotel Fernando III. So nice attention to detail here as well. And then over here, you have a side table with a phone so that you can call for any type of room service or if you need any type of assistance. And then over here, you have a nice desk so that you can do any type of work if you're here on business. And here you do have a coffee machine that you can utilize. Here they have some different teas and they have the different pods as well for the coffee. I would imagine that there's probably an extra charge for those. However, the water that's here seems to be complimentary. So they do provide you with 2 bottles of water. If ever you do run out, you can always go to room service and they'll be able to set you up nicely as well. I actually didn't check out what's inside here. I would imagine it's probably a refrigerator. And yes, that's exactly what it is. You can probably place a few maybe cans of soda, maybe small bottles of water. So it's a decent size. And our suite also came with a nice little terrace so that you can walk out and enjoy some of the beautiful scenery here. A stay at the hotel also grants access to a rooftop terrace that features a pretty decent view of the city's surroundings. Here, you can easily find an empty table and enjoy a series of meals throughout the day while appreciating the rustic yet charming look of the buildings stretching into the distance. For cooler nights and mornings, there are a series of vertical fire pits spread throughout which not only serve to keep you warm, but to set a cozy ambiance to the rooftop setting. You will also be happy to know that there is a decent-sized rooftop swimming pool that can be enjoyed on those hot and sunny days, which are numerous throughout the year. The hotel also features an on-site restaurant and bar to satisfy any immediate need for Andalusian or European cuisine. Everything from the staff service to the amenities of the hotel were simply top-notch. Its location in relation to much of the city's attractions are ideal as they can be accessed on foot for the majority of the cases. And based on these characteristics, I would highly recommend Hotel Fernando III to meet any of your lodging needs. To facilitate booking a stay at the hotel, or for attaining additional information, I will have a dedicated web link down below in the description section of this video. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that it has been beneficial in helping you plan a meaningful and inspiring trip to the beautiful cities of Ronda and Sevilla, Spain. On a personal note, I have come to fall in love with all that the southern regions of Spain has to offer, from the stunning mountainous landscapes to the architectural marvels that have survived the test of time. The history and rich culture of the region reminds me of how important it is to go out and experience the world from different perspectives, and I hope that this video can encourage you to step out of routine and go out of your way to both learn and explore. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and be sure to leave your questions and commentary down below, as I do enjoy hearing your feedback. And at that, I hope to see you at the next video, but until then, take care for now.